Welcome to the webinar of MBS Scientific. The webinar is about the journey of a sample. This webinar will be hosted by myself, Martin Groot, and Gracia Roet. Here you have an overview of who we are. Gracia Roet and myself are sales specialists for the Netherlands. Nick Image is our marketing specialist, and he will be the operator, also the voiceover you see here during the presentation. So this is MBS Scientific for today. So the table of this presentation slash webinar, we have some remarks, something to tell about MBS Scientific. We want to talk about sample collection, preparation, analysis, management of your sample, storage of your sample, and after storage, of course, retrieval of your sample. Okay, before we start, I want to make this comment. This webinar is being recorded. You can watch it later on the socials of MBS Scientific. Your microphone and camera are automatically turned off. So if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat. Via Nick will be we will answer your question as good as we can. If you have some other questions, please send us a mail afterwards. Something about MBS Scientific. We're a distributor of laboratory products. We're focused mainly on sample collection, handling, management, and storage of your samples. We also are very sample and liquid preparation, cell culture and media preparation, and laboratory automation. We're an international network. We're located in the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, France, Germany, Switzerland, UK, and USA. So, sample collection. So, if you want to make a sample collection, what are things most important to think about? For example, what kind of tube you want to use to store your sample. And of course, what kind of cap you want to use to close your sample, and what kind of coding system do you want to use to retrieve afterwards and know which kind of sample you're dealing with. So the tubes, we got some different tubes. For example, we have the SPS format reg tubes, and we got the cryo tubes. So these are some examples. And the caps, so we've got three different kind of caps. We got the push caps, internal screw caps, and external screw caps. I want to say with push caps, it's advised that you use them until minus 80. If you want to store your sample, for example, at liquid nitrogen, you should always use a screw cap, internal or external. Because to ensure that you don't lose your sample by putting in liquid nitrogen. Talking about the coding system, we got three different types of coding system. We got the non-coded, so the blank tubes. We got the alphanumeric coding system, so it has on the bottom of the tube it has coded A1 till, if you use a 96 rex, H12. And we got the 2D coded system. It's like a QR coded barcode on the top of your, on the bottom of your tube. There's some pros and there are some cons for every different system of coding. For example, the non-coded are very cost effective, but they're if you want to label them, you have to write them or use a sort of sticker to code them. Alphanumeric are when you have an alphanumeric coded, you have basic traceability. But of course, if you use different multiple racks, you can have the same A12 multiple times. So it's not very, when you use a lot of racks, it's not very, you have actually basic traceability, but still not unique coded. For example, if you use a 2D coded system, you have unique coded for every different tube. So it's a very, you get a very optimal traceability by the unique coded. Some drawbacks, what I said about the non-coded, you have to label them yourself. It takes lots of manual labor to write them yourself. And for the alphanumeric coded, there are sort of non-secure traceability. You know what you have in there because A1, A2, etc. But it can be when you use different racks, can be a little bit harder to trace them. And the drawbacks of a 2D coded system is that you need a special scanner for it to decipher the 2D coded. All right. So sample preparation. I always say if you have have a good sample preparation, you get good results. For example, if you want to have your results if you have good results, you can try to reproduce your results. You want to reproduce them multiple times the same data. With good preparation, you get a lower signal to noise ratio. So yeah. So with this, what I would like to say, with using different sample types, you have to use different types of preparation of your sample. Some examples of sample preparation are, of course, you got when you have some gentle cells. You can use gentle mixing with lysis buffer, and then you get your target sample retrieved. If you have some harder samples to prepare, for example, plant seeds or plant material, you can use a homogenization. Sorry. And it will shake up your sample much better with using the bead beaters. You can get your sample out of your plant cells and get your target sample. You can get to free. After the preparation, you want to, of course, purify your sample. By doing this, you can, for example, use a magnetic plate washer or a ELISA plate washer. This is one of the systems you can use. And of course, when you have done your analysis on your sample, you would like to store and your data, of course, we're talking about. You want to store your sample in your laboratory information system. So you can enter and retrieve your data later on. So sample management, how can we do that? We have a couple of options on that. For example, with a laser marker, you get a unique code, permanent code on your tube in this situation. If you want to store your sample, we would advise to use a recapper that makes sure you have an optimal sealing of your tube by using the recappers. And of course, by using scanners, you get an easy tracking and tracing of your sample. Over here, you see the laser marker. On the right-hand side, you see a person putting a couple of racks with tubes inside the laser marker. The laser marker will select the tubes and laser, for example, a text, a logo, or 1 or 2D barcode on your tube. On the lower right-hand side, you see an example of how it will look. With this laser marking, you get a very high resolution of your text or logo, and of course the pros is that if you compare it with an inkjet printer, you don't, for example, you don't need inked cartridge to replace it, so you don't need consumables with the laser marker. So we have the cappers, recappers. We got 2 major different types. We got a push capper, a decapper, or a screw capper, screw cap recapper. So on the upper side, you see an example of a single row decapper. It's a complete row of push cappers you can decap with it. And on the upper right hand side, you see a full rack capper, decapper. You can decap or cap a complete rack at once. Screw cappers, you got a single tubes recapper you see on the left lower side. It's a manual recapper. And of course, we got the full rack recappers you see on the right hand lower side. With that, you can recap screw caps, a complete rack of screw caps. We got a demonstration. My colleague Gracia will demonstrate the recapper, the SC500 and SC700. So Gracia, up to you.
Yes, thank you, Martin. Here we have the CS500. So we have the system with a docking station. So you can also buy the CS500 alone. But here you see it inside a docking station. What you do is you put it on the back, and then you place this here, and you secure it on the top. So by using a docking station, you make it a more of a semi-automated system, because if you don't use the docking station, this handle is flexible, and sometimes it will not be aligned with caps. So yeah, that is sometimes a disadvantage. But here we have the semi-automated system. So I will show you how it works. So this is a row decapper. So it will cap a row of tubes, and in this case, a row of 8 tubes. You have 2 buttons, so up and down. And with this, you can cap and decap, and you have a handle on the back to release the caps. So you go down. Oh, and you have here, what is really nice, a place for your cap carrier. So if you decap your caps, you can put them on the cap carrier. So now I will go down with the system. You press it up. It has all the caps. Then it will go to the cap carrier, and you release it with the handle. So this is how it looks like. Then you can fill your tubes, and if you're done with that, or you want to decap the whole rack, and you place all the tubes inside. Afterwards, you go on, you press up, and then you go down. And then you have the handle to release the tubes. So I missed one. I'm sorry for that, but I'm not like really aligned with the system because we have the camera over here. So, but if you normally work in a laboratory system with your normal chair and a good position, you will recap and cap more, much better than that I did. So that is how it looks like. Then we also have automated system. We have a rack of 1.4 ml tubes in here with an external threaded cap. So you have two options to start the decapping or to load the screw caps. So you can also have your screw caps on a refill carrier, and you can put them in, and then you can it takes the screw caps from the recap carrier and put them on your tubes. But for now, the tubes are the caps are already on the tubes. So we're pressing the middle button, start decapping. And what's really nice is that it's glass, so we can see how the system works. So now the whole rack is decapped. This takes around 30 seconds. And what you can do now is put them on a cap carrier, or you can put them back on the screw cap, on the tubes. So this depends on how you want to work with the system. For now, we're just gonna cap it again. So I press the middle button again. So it's a really gentle way of pressing down so that your samples won't mix or anything. So that is how the CS700 works. We're going back to the presentation now.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so when we have capped our sample, we would like to scan them to see the barcodes, of course, and to store them, the barcodes, and so we will know which sample is located in which tube. For that, we can use the 1D or 2D barcode scanners, and we have there are some possibilities in that. So there is a single tube scanner and a full rack scanner. As you see on the right hand side, there are some different options. So the upper left hand side is the wireless hand scanner. On the right hand side, we see the single tube scanner. It's connected with a USB to your computer. And to the bottom part, we see a full rack scanner. In this type, we have a full rack scanner with a rack, with a barcode rack scanner attached to it. So the full rack scanners, they are available in a standard scanner. There is a cryo anti-frost system. This anti-frost system prevents condensation of your glass scanner glass plate. It's handy when you use a lot of racks that are coming out of the freezer. And we got a scanner with a deep focus image. This scanner focuses on multiple points of your tubes. So, for example, if you use different manufacturers of tubes in one rack, it has a different focal point. So this scanner would be very handy for that. So Grazia will give a demonstration of the scanners, the Dr500 and Dr700. Grazia.
Yes, thank you, Martin. So yeah, we have different type of scanners, as Martin also told. So this is the Dr500, the left one with caps on it. And this is the standard scanner. And on the right side, we see the Dr700. And this one has the deep imaging camera. It's also a little bit bigger because of that. And it also has the plate to scan from the freezer. And yeah, so what's different is the sizes, of course. So you can see that this one is a little bit smaller than this. And the Dr500 scans within 5 seconds and the DR700 within 7 seconds. But still, both are very quick. As you can see here, you can see that all tubes are scanned correctly. I can do that again so that you can see how that looks like. So now it's scanning. Here you can see all the green squares. That means that it is scanned correctly. And if you click on it, you can see the image of the scan on the right. This is the image, and you can also see the code that it from the tube. And yeah, you can transport this information into a CSV file, and you can use that in your system or in your LIM system. The other thing that the scanners has is a single tube scanner. Then the scanner only goes a little part so that it can scan within a second this single tube. So you put it inside this yellow hole that is for the DR500. And in the DR700, it is on the right bottom. And this also has an option to scan 48 and 24 by removing these black things. And here you can also see the yellow hole, to say so. And this is also done here because it gives the A1 position of your rack, so that you always place it correctly on your scanner. Yeah, that's it. Let's go back to the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we have scanned, excuse me. So we have scanned our samples. Now we want to store them. At what temperature are we going to store it, and what kind of, for example, push caps or screw caps we're going to use? Like I told you before, and during the beginning of this presentation, the main advice MBS Scientific gives you to only use screw caps if you want to use your sample in liquid nitrogen. All the other temperatures you could use caps or push caps. So if you want to use optimal space of your freezer capacity, you can use freezer racks. You see here an overview of the cryo boxes. One thing I would advise you to think about, for example, if you're going to use a 2 milliliter or 1 milliliter tube, and your sample is only like 15 microliters, you could use a smaller tube. So a smaller tube means a smaller rack. In total, you can have more racks in the same cryo box or same kind of space, because the racks are smaller in size. So you can, for example, if you see my mouse pointer, at the standard cryo tubes, you can use 48,000 tubes. If you use a smaller rack, you can use for the same dimension of the cryo rack, you can use more tubes. So thinking about optimal usage of your freezer capacity. So here you have also a different kind of freezer rack. So basically, the smaller the tubes, the smaller the racks, the more tubes you can store in your freezer for the same dimensions of this same kind of rack. Okay, if we, for example, if you want to retrieve or sample out of the freezer, how are we going to do that? We can use a tube handler, so the HT500 or the HT700, for example. And of course, after that, when we have retrieved our tubes, how are we going to treat our sample? Are we going to let it thaw, or are we going to take freeze aliquots of our sample? So I was talking about the tube handlers. Over here we see the HT500. This rack tube handler has a capacity of 20 racks, and it can select about 400 tubes an hour. It's of course is a standalone system which is compatible with your laboratory information system. And there's also another tube handler system, which is the HT700. Has a little bit more of source rack capacity and has 1 or 3 target racks you can put your sample in. Also, of course, compatible with your LIMS system. All right. We have, I think Gracia will show us the HT500 tube handler.
Yes, so as you can see, we have the HT500 here, the platform system, and I will now start the protocol that I added to the system. You can see that the system picks up a tube. It will scan it at the back of the system, and on the left top part, it will scan the 2D barcode on the bottom side, and then it will place it in the empty rack. This is the protocol that I made with a CSV file that we put in with a USB. With a USB, but you can also put it into your LIMS system, and it will get the information out of that. So now it is just a very simple protocol where it puts some tubes from one rack into another rack. But of course, you can make different protocols, and you have 20 positions which you can rearrange or use as you want. So every position can be a target position or a source position. And how do you do that? On every position there's a barcode. You scan the barcode with the barcode scanner, and afterwards you scan the rack barcodes, and then it knows where every rack is, and it will pick the tube from the rack. It places it in the position that you targeted to, and you can add the option to have the 2D barcode scanning between that, but you can also do it directly, so picking and placing without the 2D barcode scanner, but that is of course an extra safety option. So you can see how fast it is. It is 400 tubes an hour, and it gives you a lot of flexibility because you can arrange it however you want. You can use this system to rearrange your freezer, for example, to clear out empty spaces in your racks, or you can use it if you have a study where you need all kind of different samples from, and you place all racks with all the samples that you need, and you place it in one rack, as you can see in my protocol. That's it. We're going back to the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. So you have selected your samples, you've selected your tubes you're going to use. So what can you do that? It's still, of course, your sample is still frozen. How do you want to thaw your system or thaw your tubes on an optimal, safe way that you don't lose your sample? You can choose the SPL Guard from Florida for that. It's a large custom configurable thawing surface. It has up to 10 SBS rack format you can place places, and of course is remoted. You can integrate it with your liquid handling system or your automated system. And Gracia will demonstrate now the thawing station, the SPL Guard from Florida. Gracia.
Yes, so here we see the SPL Guard thawing station. So it is a big station that you can convert to your need. So if you have SBS format racks, you can put 10 of these racks inside, and you get these these holders with pins, and you can place them inside these holes, and with this way it is you can convert the system. You also have different adapters for different kind of tubes. So here you see a cap 15 ml centrifugal tube, and here is a 50 ml centrifugal tube. So you can also use it for these kind of tubes, but also, for example, for blood tubes or other types of tubes. And yeah, the system will thaw. If you put 10 of these SBS format racks, it will thaw within 9 minutes, which makes it 60% faster than all the other thawing stations on the market. It has 7 ventilators on the back. So yeah, keep in mind that you have a little bit of space behind the system. And yeah, that is how it works. So it's really easy to convert your system to your needs, and yeah, and it's really fast.
Okay, thank you very much.
We do have one question in the meantime.
Okay.
The CS500, can it be sterilized to work in a sterile hood?
Yeah, so that's a really nice question. So the CS500 is used in a flow cabinet, but sometimes they choose to not use the docking station because you have more flexibility in the safety cabinet without the docking station.
Okay, and one more question about the CS500 as well. Do the black plates and the white plates are they included? The black plates are for the caps, I think, and the white plates are for the tubes.
Yeah, so these are not included. You can, yeah, if you buy your tubes, you can buy them inside the rack, the white rack already. And the caps you can also buy in a refill carrier. So then it comes in the black refill carrier, or you can buy empty refill carriers, and then yeah, you have some on stock, and you can use it. Yeah, you can reuse it.
All right, perfect. I hope that answered their question. Please, Martin, take it off.
All right, thank you. Thanks for the questions. All right, so we talked about the thawing station. If you don't want to thaw your sample, but if you want to take a frozen alicot, we have the BLASK system. You can use that to take an alicot of your frozen sample and still keep it frozen by, for example, using liquid nitrogen in this system. I would like to tell people about our colleagues in the US are giving the 23rd of this month a webinar exclusive for the BLASK system. So Nick, I think you will give the notification in the chat right now, so people can go to the link and register for that webinar.
Yes,
of course, it will be
in the chat. I've just shared the link, so you can, if you click on that, you can register for the live demonstration of the BLASK.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Nick. All right. So the frozen alicot system from BLASK. All right. So this is it was the last sheet we had. I wish to thank you for your attention. Over here we have the contact information from all the different subsidies of the Netherlands and the rest of Europe and the US. Yeah. Thank you very much. I wish you a good afternoon and good morning to our people in the US.